Would you like to offer your comments?
Well, the one thing that, as Paul said, you know, there's some potentially short-term things that can be done. There's also some long-term things. So one of the things that's probably worth mentioning is that Scott Township, Town of Bloomsburg are both going to be MS4 permittees coming up here, we think sometime this year. And Kinney Run is an impaired water course. So in the MS4, or in the pollutant reduction plan that was filed for Scott Township, Kinney Run is, we're proposing to do some type of stream restoration work in Kinney Run, which would help to mitigate the sediment and also try to restore some of the hydraulics in that stream. Now, that does not mean you come in and you clean the stream, you dredge the stream, and you reestablish it. I mean, the stream restoration work is multifaceted, but it would help to be, and the impairment of Kinney Run is sediment. So it's a sediment that's coming from upstream and depositing the potential causing problem. The vegetation, the things that could be removed from the stream, frankly, could be done without a permit as long as everything above the water, whatever's above the water is taken out. So if there's trash, telephone poles, small vegetation, no, not stuff that has established over a long period of time, that can't be removed. And, you know, so that would be somewhat of a help, but, you know, it's I think, a bigger issue than, I mean, there's, like I said, there's multiple parts of this, short-term and long-term. So,
And that's exactly why the DEP representatives are here, so they can hear what the issues are and have both township and town represented here today to see, you know, what cooperation could be had.
yeah, as part of the long-term thing, I mean, the issue about wetlands is an issue, because that now involves the Corps of Engineers.
Right.
So now we're into a 105 permit, and that's a lot bigger issue. But things that do not require a permit, like for instance removing debris, things that don't belong in the stream, that stuff does not require a permit. Mike, correct?
No, that's correct. We've brought some pamphlets out that sort of show what we can and what we can't do. And obviously, when we say you can't do it without any permit. So there are options in terms of being able to move forward with a permit. But you're right. It sounds like there's a lot of various potential sources for this problem. I'm not so sure. You know, again, we're here to listen tonight. We're not as familiar with this particular situation as maybe some are here. But you know, it's probably not just a capacity issue. Right. It sounds like it's also, you know, there could be constriction points. There could be lots of things. So we're here to more or less kind of get a feel for what the situations are and you know, where we can address those concerns.
And it's really two flooding issues. There's a local flooding issue that occurs on Kinney Run without any effect from the river. And then when the river comes up, then it's game over. You know, it doesn't matter what I do with Kinney
Right,
Run.
and I think these folks understand that issue of it. But, and folks, that's exactly why we have the different agencies here, so that everybody can hear the same conversation. Lauren Martz is here from the town of Bloomsburg. The mayor of Bloomsburg is here, Councilman Kreischer. Now, next I want to go to you, Sean. We have a couple photos here of the bridge on Old Berwick Road. And when Bridget and I did a walk down, we also measured a right-of-way off of the road with some, you know, mature growth, but not terribly big on one side of the road. The Johnson property has the most mature vegetation on their side. But we actually came up with probably the length of two of these tables was all that would be within your right-of-way as far as...
It's not that wide there. It's actually narrower on one side than the other. And within our right-of-way, as far as trees, shrubs, there isn't very much there.
That's what we discovered when we measured it.
The depends on, I mean, even, and the bridge gets inspected on a 2-year basis to make sure that there isn't scour underneath, make sure there isn't too much debris. And so that's every 2 years that gets inspected. So depending on what everybody else does, if there's something we can do to help within, we can only go to the right of way on the land. We can go 50 feet upstream or downstream from the bridge to do minimal, but we also have to work with DEP as well to get permits and Army Corps. So, I mean, we definitely want to be a part of the solution, but we have a very small piece.
So now that brings me to the representatives from DEP, but one question, Lauren and Eric and Bill, what would you, Charlie ventured into it just a little bit, what are you prepared to do action-wise, depending on the scope of the permit, to allow your town maintenance group to address?
I think we need the clearance from DEP first to be able to do that, correct, Charlie? I mean, or to do some of the cleanup.
Bill.
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think we were looking for the advice of DEP first before we touched that. From what I understand, a diversion would be ideal, but we'd have to do like basically a joint project with CEDACOG and Scott Township. Is what I'm understanding from Paul.
Okay.
So I think like, with our new council members are very interested in correcting these issues. I don't think there's going to be an issue with working with Scott Township in that matter. I don't know if you have any.
So you don't have a problem having a future meeting, nor do you, between the two municipalities?
We've already set it up.
Yeah, so I'm sure. Yeah,
And-
I'm sure the staff already set it up. I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of that already. So.
Very good. And secondly, then I'll come to DEP. You'll be willing to work with each of the entities here to draw up a game plan with the Scott Township engineer and Bloomsburg. Is our engineer here from Bloom? No. Okay. But you wouldn't have any issues having a further meeting with them. I mean, I have pictures here, drone photos. I don't think that they actually do the justice that I wanted them to do, but I think that they show, you know, some of the choke points throughout this process. But, you know, if we could schedule something based on the testimony of these good folks here that maybe a permit of a general nature and scope could be issued that their resources in the township would handle and their resources in the town would handle. We're not talking a $1 million project here. Hopefully we're talking something that is very reasonable and can be addressed at the local level where it should be.
Jared and I can tag team this,
Sure.
some of the answers to questions, and Jared, you might as well go first.
Well, I was going to say, so everybody understands our role. We sort of wear multiple hats. So one of our roles is, you know, we are charged with protection of our aquatic resources, you know, our stream resources through making sure they maintain their designated use. So we do stream assessments across the state to make sure, to monitor the health of our aquatic resources. Another role we do is we deal with permitting, where we assess and review permits applications to make sure that they are protective of water quality. And sometimes, obviously, we see those conflicts when we get into flooding situations. So typically the way it would work is we would oftentimes meet with an applicant to sort of see what's going on. And at this point, I'll be honest with you, me personally, I've seen a little bit based upon what I heard we came to the meeting. I tried to research a little bit as best we could. But I think we need to get our eyes on that, because what you guys mentioned as well, there's so many facets to this that could be causing the problem. So before we want to talk about action, I think it's always good, necessary sometimes, to know what the source of the problem is. So it could be everything from increased stormwater flows due to development. It could be constriction points at your bridges. Some things could be very simple fixes, some things could not. A lot of times, to be perfectly honest, I see people oftentimes go right straight to, I want to dredge, 20 miles of stream, and capacity, in my opinion, capacity issues oftentimes aren't a very good fix in the long term. But absolutely, I would say at this point, our role is, we're here to listen tonight, to get a feel for what the issues are. And I think the next step for us would be to meet with, the township officials, or whomever, to kind of get a feel for what are the problems, so that the plan we put forward, that they put forward, is a good sound plan.
Mr. Riley, Mayor Ballard, what is the date of your meeting that you have set?
So we have been in communications over the past couple of weeks to set up a meeting concerning this very issue with seated dogs and other folks who could not be here from the county. We were going to talk about the exact same thing you're talking about today, as a matter of fact. We were talking about end of April, when we coordinated with DEP and the Corps of Engineers. So Todd was involved in that, and us were involved in that discussion.
So you're in contact with DEP at the present time?
And the court.
Corps of Engineers.
And the court, okay. And Tom Hughes is here from FEMA, somewhere in our audience here. So, Tom, would you like to add anything?
We got a lot of things going on here, and I'm with you on that. I'd like to see a study, some kind of study first, and see what are all the variables here. But I'm not from FEMA, but I am going to say, because from FEMA, how many of you have flood insurance? I heard that there was a.
Well, it's enforced now,
Okay, if you have a mortgage.
have to have it.
And I was going to say that if there are some folks out there that have a number of claims, there may be money out there to actually do elevations if you're looking at that. Again, that would have to be something that the municipalities would want to do. You're thinking about short-term stuff you can do now, that might be an option. There are also mitigation reconstruction, where now there's up to $150,000 will give somebody. They want to build a monster home because maybe they just can't bring it back up to code because they're keeping it as new construction, and they can give that money. There's
Is that
also
through NFIP?
that's through the NFIP program. There's several programs that we deal with, and the buyout program that we do in Scott Township in the town of Bloomsburg, we're only one of the different activities we have, through the FEMA's funding streams.
And who would be their point of contact to learn more about those programs?
I'm just wondering, you were saying you have another meeting, are you gonna have an informational meeting that we would be able to talk to maybe homeowners and that?
That'd be great.
Yeah, we haven't set that up yet. What we want to do is understand what the problem is first. Bring some experts in and talk about, is there already a study done? We're going to pay for a study, again, until we realize the study had already been done.
Okay.
And I saw the study 2 days ago. And so I think what we want to start with is get that information, understand the study, let the engineers look at it, and really understand what the global scope is. We may find out that the true solution is going to cost some money, so I'm asking Representative Millard, what can we expect from the state as far as funding to help the residents here? If we find out the best thing for us is to divert Kinney Run into the Susquehanna, can we get some funding from the state to help us with this?
Well, right now, there's $0 programs I can identify for that. However, it always takes a major event to bring about funding sources. And in the absence of what you're going to do, cost-wise at the township, and what you're going to bear, fiscally as far as the town, if it goes way beyond, your resources to provide something, most certainly I'll get involved in it to try and come up with something.
I think the 2001 study, I just read it again today, they've looked at this in the past, and apparently it was cost prohibitive. I wasn't part of that study, I wasn't part of politics back then. Perhaps some others were, and they could tell us what the end result was, but if the end result was it's just too cost prohibitive, we're probably going to need some assistance from the state to make this a reality.
And once you identify that, then the wheels will start turning in my office.
Great.
So,
Dave, the way it